1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am your host, Precious D, and today we are doing one of our Kaiju Comics Corner segments. This is a special episode and have a special guest. He is the writer and creator of Monster Matador, Stephen Prince. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going, Dominic? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being here. So we're recording this ahead of time, but on the day we post this episode, you are launching a new Kickstarter for Monster Matador, Blood of the Matador. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So, Blood of the Matador is our latest miniseries, which picks up after the shocking ending of Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico. The monster Matador is dead. His daughter is captured. His brother-in-law, her uncle, is a prisoner of the evil Nacho Lobo, who heads a kind of a cartel that controls monsters. Meanwhile, a group of monster-fighting luchadors called the Monstradors have been gathering an army to avenge the Matador and fight Nacho Lobo. And that's kind of where we're at the beginning of it. So it's a big story. It's definitely reader friendly. If you haven't read anything before it, you can pick it up easily. But there will be catch up tiers and things like that available if you want to get the entire saga.
Yeah, I was reading the preview you sent me, and I was catching up. I have a tendency to buy a lot of comics and then just let them pile up.
Yeah.
Or in this guy's,
we all do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm years behind on Superman.
Yeah.
Which he's my favorite, but I'm years behind. So I've been catching up on Monster Matador, and I'm almost all the way caught up. So this Kickstarter, is this just for the first issue?
Yeah, this will be the first issue of the miniseries. So each Kickstarter, is usually for a single issue with catch-up tiers. We also have the spin-off one-shot of Monstradors, which are the monster-fighting luchadors. We did that Kickstarter back in, I think it was March. So there's a bunch. It's a lot of stuff, but it's a monster fighting Matador. That's basically all you need to know.
Yeah, and what more could you possibly want from a comic book?
Right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Monster Matador? How did you come up with that idea, and how long have you been working on it?
So the original idea I came up with, I had written this in the introduction to the first volume. I came up with the concept in, I think, I'm forgetting, but it was like 2007, 2008. And I was basically just sketching in my sketchbook, and I drew a picture of a Matador, and then I drew a picture of Godzilla, and I just thought, monster Matador, monster fighting Matador. And I kind of I knew I had a good idea there, and at that time I just didn't really know what to do with it or how to kind of, the comic business is always kind of in chaos, and it wasn't so easy finding artists at the time and things like that. So I just kind of kept it in my back pocket, and I had put out like a web comic. I had just for fun and just kind of like working out the concept. And basically it's a Matador who fights to make a better world for his daughter. The night he's at a bullfight, and his wife is pregnant, and her water breaks, and they go to the hospital, and as she's giving birth, the monsters rise up, and she is unfortunately killed as a monster attacks Mexico City, and the Matador is left kind of broken and with his newborn young daughter, and as she grows up, he finds like strength in himself and faith in himself, and he commits to fighting these monsters that have been ravaging the world, in order to make a better future for his daughter. And he basically, goes up against Godzilla monsters and Godzilla style size monsters, and part of the fun is seeing just how he's going to take them down. And it's really just kind of like bullfighting on a large scale. If you've
Hmm.
ever seen a bull, they are literal monsters. And with the Matador, it's not about like a drag him out, knock him down, fight, a brawl kind of thing, wrestling or whatnot. It's more about kind of like hitting that spot, wearing the monster down and finding that one kind of kill spot where he can get it. Um, so he uses his skill and everything he's learned in the arena fighting bulls to fight these giant monsters.
Excellent.
And through that, he's inspired other people, other that these monsters to fight these monsters. So that's where the monster doors come from. We did a one shot, 65 pages, called Afropocalypse, which is a love letter to Predator. And he basically joins a team of international monster hunters that hunt down a kaiju in South Africa that is turning people and animals into zombies. So
Like you do.
there's a lot of variation in the type of monsters we do. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think he ends up finding a sort of Biolante type monster at the end of that one. I just
Yeah.
read that one
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
his daughter's name, by the way, is Adelita, and I have to mention that
Yep.
one of my sisters is named Adelita.
Oh, cool.
So she will
That's cool.
she
Yeah. It's
she will enjoy that.
it's Pancho Villa's wife.
Mm. Well,
She was a tough.
yeah. We are well familiar with the legends surrounding that that name.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where the name came
In
from.
fact, a
Yeah.
while back, we both backed a comic called Adelita 3017, but
Okay.
it has not had a second issue. And
Oh, okay.
she paid the extra amount to have her picture on the back of the comic
Oh,
book.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Three people paid to have their character on the back of the comic book,
Yeah.
and hers was just do an action version of me
Yeah. Yeah. That's
in an
people have been
Adelita
asking.
style outfit. So
Yeah. People have been asking us to do that, and it's tough because we work far ahead.
yeah.
Um, so Fabio Alves, who's the artist,
Hmm.
and Alex Ziff, who's the colorist. Um, we've been doing it since 2020 with our first Kickstarter for Tango the Matadors, and it's been really important for me to kind of keep us together as a team.
Hmm.
So it's sometimes Fabio needs work and you gotta have a script so we could drop it in there. We're actually almost finished. He's almost finished drawing the second issue right now.
Okay.
So it gives you a sense of where we are.
Yeah, years ago in my youth, I wrote some comics, but I always had trouble finding artists. So, how did you find these
Yeah.
guys?
So I Fabio's actually the third artist I was looking at for this book. The first one, he went like by the time I had started, I had the script, and he had decided to do his own creator-owned comics. And then another artist didn't work out, and Fabio had just finished drawing a book called Banjax for a friend of mine, Rylan Grant, and that was put out by Action Lab. And he was looking for work, and I was looking for an artist, and Ryland had mentioned that Fabio had an opening, and that's kind of that's kind of how it happened. So he introduced us, So it was pretty lucky. And then Alex, who's our colorist, I actually found on Instagram, and a lot of the artists, I, like Puis Calzada, who drew Monster Doors. Alex introduced me to him, and now that I've been doing Kickstarters for like 5 years. I have a lot of friends too who do them. So we're always kind of asking each other for advice and about artists and things like that. It's definitely a lot easier now than it was, even 10 years ago, right? Especially now that Kickstarter has become what it is,
Yeah.
like a legitimate platform. The caliber and the quality of artists are a lot better. A lot of professional artists just looking for work,
Mhm.
and Kickstarter is now like another opportunity for them. So
Okay. Um, I was last night. I was watching. I didn't quite finish it. Uh,
yeah.
Wrestling Women versus the Aztec Mummy.
Oh
So
wow.
I was just wondering what some of your inspirations were for Monster Matador,
Sure.
if you've
I mean,
seen some of that
obviously,
kind of stuff.
yeah. Being a matador from Mexico, obviously the Santo movies were a big influence. For those that don't know, Santo was a very famous Mexican luchador who made many, 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 many movies,
Yeah.
fighting monsters, and so definitely Santo is an influence. Obviously, the Godzilla, the Kaiju movies are an influence. If you've read, obviously, I did a love letter to Predator. 80s movies, especially the kind of like crazy canon action films,
Okay.
are a huge influence.
Uh-huh.
I mean, um, so those are probably like the main three. Like that's the stuff I'm always kind of going back to. Um, so Mad Max, just in terms of the sort of post-apocalyptic future, that's definitely an influence to it.
Yeah.
And then Fabio, who's the artist, is very influenced by like steampunk stuff,
Okay.
and he'll kind of you'll see kind of things in his art. He'll throw things in there. Um, Sometimes he goes a little. I think it. Uh, I think in the latest one, it was actually kind of cool, but it was like a person where like his total bottom half was like almost like like robotic or whatever, but it
Mhm.
was too much for this. It's not. It's it was cool, but it's kind of like you can't really explain that, or you'd have to explain it, and then that just kind of it didn't really work. But we're working on something for a storyline coming up that will incorporate certain types of like tech that'll be unveiled. Um, since something that would be plausible in a world like that.
Okay. So, how post-apocalyptic is the world of Monster Matador? Have these things just
It's
torn up
sort of, yeah,
everything, or just parts of Mexico?
not
Or
not everything. I would compare it. It's sort of like Mad
yes,
Max, the first one,
uh huh, which is
where
kind of
it's kind of
pre-apocalyptic.
like, yeah, it's kind of like almost there. And then there are pockets where it's like Road Warrior,
Hmm.
depending on where. But the world is pretty much the world is on edge, and obviously with the monsters a lot has been set back, but it's pretty much like that Mad Max world where it's teetering on the brink, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then, like I said, and then in like some areas, some pockets, you'll have just like complete like road warrior lawlessness and things like that.
Cool.
And that's kind of um, where we are in the latest book, Blood of the Matador and Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico, where in Mexico there's there's areas that have kind of like become that kind of like almost like post-apocalyptic that have been taken over by these like gangs and things like that.
Right. Do you have plans? How much going forward do you think you can take the Monster Matador, and will things continue to get worse globally as the story
Yeah,
goes on?
that's a good question. So the truth about Kickstarter is it's it's a tricky thing to plan because we usually do like 2 issues a year. Sometimes we do three,
Mm-hmm.
but when we started with in 2005 with Tango of the Matadors, um, I kind of realized right away like you can't really plan it like, oh, I'm going to do a 60 issue comic book series, right? Because the 60 issues in Kickstarter is going to
Yeah.
be like 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons why we did miniseries and we kept them kind of self-contained but connected in a way was because, one of the complaints on Kickstarter too has been like, I don't get a complete story or whatnot. So I wanted to make everything in you know, um, so that people would have a complete story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you retangle the Matadors, that's a complete story. And there's a tease into Afropocalypse, but you don't feel like, oh man, I just backed this and now this guy, now it's over, it's gone, right? So with this arc, Blood of the Matador is going to kind of complete the sort of this the first overall big arc that started in Tango of the Matadors. And so we started that in 2020, and by the end of it, I think it'll be probably late 2026 or whatever. But that'll be about 12, 13 issues. I think 13, 14 issues with the Monstrador spinoff. And that's that's like individual stories, but one giant story, right? And then after that, I haven't thought about it too much, but I need to think about how I want to tell the stories moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's hard to plan, 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and my hope, my thinking is that we'll kind of do a kind of I guess what you call like a European model, and this is what I would like to do, is to do maybe like 148 page, and I've been kind of pricing it out like a nice hardcover or something of Monster Matador and
Mm-hmm.
one of Monstradors, and we'll tell stories like that. So they'll be kind of like really dense stories that'll be part of an overall, story.
Uh-huh.
But really keeping in mind that uh, you know you can't really go out and be like, okay, this is going to be a 10-year storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, to me, it's really important. I think, and that as I'm doing these, I want to make sure that if people are committing to me and to the book and to us, that they're going to get a story. They're going to feel like they got their money's worth and not left hanging. Um, I hope that makes sense. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
understand.
But yeah, I haven't. I'm really right now. We're kind of getting through Blood of the Matador, and then I definitely have I definitely have plans for future stories.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is at this point, and I'll probably have a better sense in a year or so in terms of how I want to move forward with formatting and things like that.
Okay. There seem to be a lot of kaiju comic books around right now. Are there any that you are reading yourself?
Um, you know, I'm so far behind. I'm so far behind on
Yeah.
comics. The one I enjoyed, I really dug a few years ago was Kaiju Max.
Okay. I believe I have that one.
That was from Oni Press. This is really good.
Is that
And
the one
then
about the maximum security prison for kaiju?
yeah,
Yes. Okay.
yeah, that was fun.
I
That
have
was fun.
the first volume of that.
Yeah. And what was there? I mean, I read the Godzilla comics every now
Sure.
and then. I'll try and pick those up. I've got the Marvel ones, but I haven't, like I said, I haven't read them yet,
Right.
and I heard they're a lot of fun.
We're making our way through those on our Patreon. We
Oh, cool,
my
cool.
co-host and I, we each have a copy of the new hardback that came out, and we're doing Patreon episodes, making our way through that volume.
Oh, did they just? Is it in a hardcover already?
Yes, yeah, they've put out a. Oh well, I'm talking about the old Marvel ones,
Oh, the
not the
that
new,
yeah,
not
yeah.
the new
Oh, that
ones.
yeah. I got that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Those are fun.
I'm
It's fun.
also, but yeah, I'm also reading the current Marvel ones and the current DC
Yeah,
ones. As
yeah. That's where I haven't. I haven't got. I have them,
yeah,
but I haven't gotten to it yet.
and I have a big collection of the MonsterVerse ones that I have
Oh,
not
cool.
really cracked open yet. I kickstarted it, of course. So
Nice. Yeah, those I haven't got yet. I did. I read the Pacific Rim ones that they did. Those were pretty good.
yeah, I noticed
So legendary.
my library app has the Pacific Rim comics, so I might be reading those soon
Okay.
too. Your origin of how you came up with the Matador reminded me of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That they were, he was just doing the sketches and just did this random sketch of a turtle in a mask and with some nunchucks and he said, "This is a."
Oh, is that real? Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, clearly it was tapping into four things that were really big at the time,
Yeah.
which was mutants, teenage groups, and ninjas, and funny animal books were kind of popular
Yeah. Yeah.
at the time. But he was just doing a sketch, and it looks quite a bit different from the final product. But yeah, it exists. You can see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The
So
sketch I did. Yeah. We printed it in the paperback. It's pretty terrible. I think at the time. At the time, I'll tell you why it looks terrible. At the time, there's a Peter Sellers movie which I love. It's called The Bobo, and he plays a singing matador.
okay,
It's pretty silly. But anyway, I had just watched it, and
ah,
I think at the time there was like on a Cartoon Network, what was it? Samurai Jack was
yeah,
pretty big,
uh-huh,
and then like Afro Samurai. And I think and in my head I was like, oh, I'm going to create the next whatever,
mm-hmm,
And so I drew a matador in like what I in my that kind of style, which is not a natural style for me.
mm-hmm.
Um, and because I had the Peter Sellers movie on my mind, and I thought, oh, that would be cool. So I drew a matador in that style. Um, and then the Godzilla, I think I just drew randomly. Maybe I was watching a monster movie. I don't know. It was so long ago, but it's funny how that stuff just kind of comes out when you're not actually like really thinking too hard about it,
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well,
Because like I'll sit around trying to come up with ideas and banging my head against the wall, and I got nothing. I got nothing. Um, but then you just draw something, and you're like, oh, okay. Sometimes you just or even with writing, you just let your hand do whatever it's going to do, and
mm-hmm.
yeah.
I'm not familiar with the Bobo, but now I have to go check that out.
Yeah, it's fun.
So if they were to make a movie out of this or a TV show, who do you think
Yeah.
should play Monster Matador?
So it's interesting when you translate. You can go with someone who's like specific.
Mm.
But there was a picture I saw of his name is Gabriel Luna.
Mm-hmm.
He played Ghost Rider and Agents of Shield,
Okay. You mean Ghost
and
Driver?
he was in the Ghost Driver. Yeah,
Well, no, I mean they
that's
called him
funny.
Ghost Rider, but I'm like, he's not a Ghost
Right?
Rider.
No,
He's got
yeah,
a
yeah.
car.
That's true.
He's clearly
Yeah, that's
Ghost
true.
Driver.
As you said that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's actually it makes sense. He was also in the last Terminator movie.
Okay.
But anyway, he's a little younger than the Matador, and he doesn't have necessarily like the rough edges that the comic Matador has, but he has the look, and he's someone who you could see having like a kid, like being good with a kid,
Mm-hmm.
which is important for the Matador. So I thought he would be an interesting choice. I thought he would be interesting.
Okay. I
Um,
noticed. I noticed you do try to pepper some Spanish throughout the book. Do you have
yeah,
any
yeah.
Hispanic background, or you just did some good research?
No, well, so my grandfather's family are Spanish from a very, very, very long time ago. When I was a kid, he gave me a Matador hat, which is why I've always kind of been attracted to Matadors. And that's kind of where that came from. My my ex at the time I created it was Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
He was from Mexico, which is why the Matador is from Mexico. And I live in California, so it's basically
Right.
it's basically the official language with English. I mean, it's Spanish is just it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I speak very little. I'm not, I can understand a bit, um, but yeah, it's just it's such a um, it's just so ingrained. I
Right.
guess it's natural. I guess so. A lot of the Spanish that I do put in there, some of it I'll ask to get, if it's like regional specific or a specific phrase or something like that. But a lot of it is just off the top of my head, and it's just from listening to native Spanish speakers speak English and how
Mm-hmm.
they incorporate Spanish into English,
Yeah.
um, but also the rhythm of the speech. Because when Spanish translates into English, it's not. There's a specific way it translates. Things like instead of saying give it to me, you would say give to me.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Okay.
So it's just kind of paying attention to the rhythm of speech, of how people talk. And like I said, I mean, because it's you hear it all the time, so
Yeah.
it's you just pick it up.
Well, I'm in Texas, and my father speaks fluent
Oh, okay,
Spanish, so
okay, yeah,
it's all around here too. Part of
right, yeah, yeah. But there is a certain way that I mean, you see how people will pepper the Spanish into the English and things like that. And that's kind of a lot. Like I said, a lot of it's off the top of my head because that's just how I hear it usually. So
Mhm.
you'll just pick up those words and that kind of that rhythm. But I do also run it by friends who are Spanish speaking and whatnot, just to make sure that I'm not that I get it right, because Spanish too, depending on there's specific sort of phrases or way things are spoken or meant in Mexico, right, than they are in different um, in different Spanish speaking countries.
Mhm.
There's nuances to language, so so sometimes it's just a matter of kind of getting those little bits, you know, getting that right, I guess.
Right. Okay. Well, Monster Matador Blood of the Matador is launching today on Kickstarter, folks. We will put a link in the show notes, but you can also go to monstermatador.com to check out the previous entries in the series. And there will be a catch-up tier on this Kickstarter. If you don't already have the previous stuff, you can get it.
And yeah, and if you want to try it out, you can go to Global Comics. We've got some free digital issues there.
Oh,
So,
cool. Yeah, I've been
yeah.
backing at the digital tier because I just don't have the
Yep.
space anymore for
Dude, I feel
many
you. I
physical
get
comics.
it. No, I get it.
Yeah.
I've got a wife and kids,
Yeah.
so I get yelled at a lot. Like, there's no room for this stuff.
Yeah, there was a time when I had over 9,000 comics, and I started
Wow.
pruning and selling them off and focusing
Wow.
more on just my Superman collection. but other things have started sneaking in, like Godzilla comics and things like that. So
Right.
you
Right.
gotta, it's insidious. Uh, so there you go, folks. There's, if you don't have room, you can always back at a digital tier.
That's right.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Steve. Appreciate it. Good luck with the Kickstarter. How long is it lasting? A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
It's gonna be 24 days.
24 days. Okay.
So till around like mid-August or so.
All right. That doesn't mean you should waste your time, though, folks. It always helps these Kickstarters
No.
get funded as soon as possible. So go check it out today and tell your friends and family. Tattoo it on your face. Thanks again for joining us,
please.
Steve. Folks, my guest has been Steve Prince. I have been Precious D. Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements. Please don't misuse science. We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.